And moving on in an exclusive conversation with Arvind, Srivastava, Revenue Secretary, and Arunish, Chawla, DIPAM Secretary, they highlighted what has been the rationale for the announcements in the budget.
So the tax collections so far have been, this year, if you remember, there was a correction, there was a relief given to the taxpayers, and therefore the base number, that is the revised number, has been modified. And the growth seems to be okay with reference to the revised numbers. For the next year, we have taken a buoyancy of almost, in the direct tax, 14%. GST is looking good. It has started showing what we expected in a few months to pick up, and we expect it to accelerate even more from here. Essentially for two reasons. One is the ITC, because the rates of GST, when they went up on some items, the ability to use ITCs became, so there were companies with ITC which they were not able to use, which they could. So that will gradually pan out. And two, we expect fundamental changes to happen in the way people consume and the businesses sell their wares. And therefore, we expect this to accelerate even further. On the customs, the duty, the revenue has kept good, buoyancy. And excise in the coming year, because tobacco products now are getting taxed in the normal way. So we expect certain amount of good revenues even happening on that front. So whatever is the budgeted number, we expect it to achieve confidently.
So one very relevant question with regard to hike in STT. It has been increased significantly, I don't know. And specifically at a time when there is geopolitical complexities and market were expecting differently. So what are the rationale behind this decision?
First of all, this is the STT is only on the futures and options.
Right.
It is not on the cash side. So it is only on the futures and option derivative side trade. So it is not really something which is affecting the rest of the segments where STT is to be paid. So it's very clearly directed towards the derivative side. And it is a combination of revenue generation coupled with the fact that the segment is large, speculative, and to some extent raising of taxes can help to contain the heat, because eventually this will all be positive in terms of a good sustainable development of the market also.
इसके अलावा कुछ और इम्पोर्टेंट डिसीजंस हुए हैं, जैसे बायबैक से रिलेटेड डिसीजन है, उसके पीछे के क्या थॉट प्रोसेस है इस समय में उसको इम्प्लीमेंट करना?
बायबैक ने थोड़ा जो सोल्यूशन ढूंढा गया था उसको और नुआंस्ड वे में सॉल्व किया है, विच इज कमिंग बोथ इन द फॉर्म ऑफ रिलीफ एज वेल एज करेक्शन. तो बायबैक का टैक्स डिविडेंड के रूप में परिवर्तित किया गया था, क्योंकि प्रमोटर्स एक तरह से आर्बिट्राज के रूप में, टैक्स आर्बिट्राज के रूप में यूज़ किया जा रहा था. तो अब हम लोगों ने उसको करेक्ट इस तरह से किया है कि जो माइनॉरिटी शेयर होल्डर्स हैं, नॉन प्रमोटर शेयर होल्डर्स हैं, उनके लिए ये कैपिटल गेन, सभी के लिए कैपिटल गेन के रूप में आएगा पहला, विच इज़ कंसेप्चुअली भी वही है. तो उसके दो फायदे होंगे. एक तो इफेक्टिव रेट ऑफ टैक्स कम हो गया, और दूसरा आपको एक्विजिशन कॉस्ट का भी जो क्रेडिट है वो मिलेगा. अगर आपने 200 रुपये का शेयर बायबैक किया और ओरिजिनल आपने 100 में खरीदा तो ओनली 100 यू विल पे. जब हमने उसको डिविडेंड के रूप में करा था तो कैपिटल जो एक्विजिशन था वो आपको कहीं अपने किसी अलग कैपिटल अकाउंट में उसको एडजस्ट करना पड़ता था, जो एक ऑर्डिनरी शेयर होल्डर के पास अवेलेबल नहीं होता था. तो एक तरह से उनके लिए ये एक सिस्टम स्मूथ हो गया है. प्रमोटर्स के लिए हम लोगों ने एडिशनल बायबैक टैक्स, क्योंकि वो इशू जो मिसयूज़ ऑफ टैक्स आर्बिट्राज का है वो वैसे भी रहेगा, तो उसको हमने सॉल्व करने के लिए सिर्फ प्रमोटर्स के लिए एक एडिशनल बायबैक टैक्स का प्रोविज़न रखा है. लेकिन वो भी ऐसे रखा है कि वो उनका मोर और लेस मार्जिनल रेट ब्रॉडली वही रहे जो आज के दिन है. तो कॉर्पोरेट्स के लिए 22%, नॉन कॉर्पोरेट प्रमोटर्स के लिए 30%. तो ये एक सोल्यूशन ढूंढा गया है. जो बायबैक की व्यवस्था में कंपनीज़ का एक इशू था कि जो स्ट्रक्चरली बायबैक करती हैं वो एक थोड़ा ज़्यादा ओनरस ये जो सिस्टम था ऑफ डिविडेंड बेस्ड, वो हमने उसका एक परिपक्व और एक कंप्लीट सोल्यूशन निकाल के दिया है.
Sir, I just have a follow-up question to the point that you mentioned about GST and the fact that, last year GST rate rationalization decision, it was a mega decision which really boosted consumption in the country. So are you hopeful of achieving the targets as far as that GST collection numbers are concerned?
We hope to achieve the target. You are talking about this year or the next year? So this year, quite naturally, it will depend upon, it will be a plus and minus kind of a situation. So the revised number is there in the budget. For the next year, as I said, as we go forward, we expect it to become far more buoyant.
And what other reforms that we expect in GST?
GST, we had mentioned it the last time itself. Some process reforms we did early, that time itself, and they have been bearing good fruits. For example, automatic registration of small traders or small businesses. Number two, automatic refund for the inverted duty structure. That also we have implemented. It's doing well. There are a lot of other process reforms dealing with registration, refund, dispute settlement. So we are trying to, returns, audit. Right. So there's an agenda which is getting discussed with the states, and we are trying to find some common kind of a ground to take it forward. But what we want that common ground to be is to be really effective on the ground. So we don't want it to be another paperwork and then not resulting in. So that requires a little bit of a work, which we are doing with the states. So whenever we are ready with that, probably we can look at some of those decision points for the council.
So just a follow-up question to what you essentially stated about, compliance burden has been reduced, and of course you're working with states. I want to ask you, basis what's been announced today in the budget, to what extent do you think that's going to reduce the compliance burden, particularly on small and medium industries, given the kind of sort of challenges that they're facing due to global headwinds? So does that really boost?
So today, of course, there is nothing on the GST because the council needs to resolve first.
Yes.
But on the income tax, a large number of things that we are doing. For example, we are saying now that the lower deduction certificate can as well be taken by you through the system. You don't need to apply to an assessing officer. Your previous returns will be enough for us to give you that certificate. Or that we are saying that if you are a shareholder in multiple companies, then you don't have to file your 15G, 15H forms for every company. You can do it in the depository, which will take up that responsibility for you. The entire system of disputes has been refined. Now, taxpayer at every stage has an opportunity. If he is willing to pay his tax, he doesn't need to go through a process with the department. So whether it is updated return, for which additional window has been opened, even after assessment is complete, he need not go through penalty route. He can pay an additional tax and close the matter. So we have tried to find a system in which a taxpayer has to pay the tax which is due. But if he is willing to do that, we are giving him a window which is not onerous for him in the form of calling payments in the form of penalty or penalizing him, and at the same time also trying to minimize interaction with the department. So on his own, he is in a position to do and see to it that the matter is closed. So we are doing a lot of such reforms. Customs, of course, you have seen the whole host of reforms.
Now I would like to go to the DIPAM secretary. Pleasure talking to you, sir. On the divestment front, divestment target has been set at rupees 80,000 crore for FY27, which is much higher than the last year's target. So how have you arrived on this number?
Our aspirations are higher. We've set a bar high for ourselves. And that is a reflection of the confidence in the strategy we've been able to put together. The target that you see is called the miscellaneous capital receipts in the language of the budget. And essentially it means asset monetization. And this includes the traditional disinvestment. It includes market operations to divest the equity stakeholdings in favor of small investors. It includes innovative instruments like the public InvIT, which was announced recently. And the first one we hope to go live before the end of the financial year. It includes a new instrument which Honorable FM announced today, which is the REIT for CPSCs. And it also includes the traditional land sales or land monetization. We set the bar higher, but we don't split it up into finer parts because that creates an overhang in the market. It creates distortions. But we are confident of achieving this through a combination of these innovative instruments and the traditional ones.
Sir, on IDBI Bank disinvestment, what the current status?
The strategic disinvestment of the IDBI Bank has reached stage 3, which means the technical and the financial bids have been invited. You will hear from us further towards the end of the current financial year.
Are you comfortable Are you comfortable to complete this transaction by end of?
No further transaction related details will be given out because we maintain the sanctity of the process and the privacy of the qualified parties.
Right.
You said that some new transactions will be taken forward in the next financial year. If you could explain a little.
There are other transactions in the pipeline. Some of the transactions, the first iterations did not succeed. We are now going to adopt cost center approach and some other alternate strategies where, more specialized or privatizable businesses can be hived off from other heterogeneous business verticals. This is how the private sector works. And using a similar strategy, we would be able to take some of these earlier transactions to a logical conclusion.
So just a follow-up question that I wanted to ask you. What kind of reforms are really needed to sort of, make divestment more credible and faster in future?
One I mentioned to you is this cost center approach, which kind of cleans up the operations of a more heterogeneous enterprise into more privatable parts. The second is, as you must have heard or seen in the economic survey, that alternate strategies are being thought about. Options are there. There are different ideas, either change the definition or bring in a strategic partnership framework and move forward in that direction. Think of joint ventures or other modes where the company does not remain a government company anymore, but still there is public control directly or indirectly to achieve the public policy objectives and yet create wealth for the economy and share it with the minority shareholders.
सर बजट में पीएफसी आरएफसी जैसी जो एनबीएफसीज हैं उनके रीस्ट्रक्चरिंग की बात की गई है, उसकी ज़रूरत क्यों महसूस की जा रही है और रीस्ट्रक्चरिंग अगर सरकार करती है तो उसका स्वरूप कैसा होगा, किस तरीके से रीस्ट्रक्चरिंग की जाएगी?
वित्त मंत्री महोदया ने बजट स्पीच के माध्यम से एक इंटेंट क्लियर दर्शाया है कि हमें जो हमारी एनबीएफसीज हैं, जो हमारी पब्लिक फाइनेंसिंग कंपनीज हैं, उनको इकोनॉमीज ऑफ स्केल और बेटर लेवरेज और बेटर प्रोडक्टिविटी की तरफ ले जाना चाहिए और यह एक पहला प्रयास होगा उस दिशा में, जिसमें हम प्रयास करेंगे कि एक सेंट्रल फाइनेंसिंग एंटिटी हो जो लीड फाइनेंसर के रूप में काम करे पूरे पावर सेक्टर के लिए, जिसमें डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन, जनरेशन और ट्रांसमिशन सब कुछ शामिल है और उसमें स्टेट यूटिलिटीज़ भी शामिल हैं। अगर ये इकोनॉमी ऑफ स्केल पे और एफिशिएंटली और हायर लेवरेज पे काम करे तो लीड फाइनेंसर की तरह काम कर सकता है और उसके माध्यम से बाकी बैंक्स और फाइनेंशियल इंस्टीट्यूशंस भी क्राउड इन होंगे और पावर सेक्टर की एफिशिएंसी भी बढ़ेगी और कंसोलिडेशन भी होगा।
तो क्या इसका मतलब है कि इन कंपनीज का आपस में मर्जर भी हो सकता है या पावर सेक्टर की किसी दूसरी कंपनीज के साथ भी इनका मर्जर हो सकता है?
ये फैसला इन कंपनीज के बोर्ड्स लेंगे क्योंकि ये फैसला उनको लेना चाहिए और संबंधित विभाग पावर मंत्रालय से उनकी कंसल्टेशन से और उनकी सहमति से इस कार्य को आगे ले जाया जाएगा।
You are also planning for OFS for you are planning an OFS for LIC. What is the current status? Can you expect in this current financial?
No comments at the moment.
You won't be able to give a timeline for that?
I would refrain from, but I can tell you as part of strategy, we always keep 3 to 4 transactions alive. Depending on market conditions, depending on investor response, we take the right left foot or right or left hand forward.
All right, gentlemen. Thank you very much All right.
One question on this land asset monetization CPSEs का, उसमें जो नेशनल लैंड कॉर्पोरेशन उसमें कई तरह काफ़ी अपॉइंटमेंट्स भी हुए थे जब डीपी सेक्रेटरी आप थे, उसमें काफ़ी काम भी हुआ था। तो ये जो असेट मोनेटाइजेशन जिसकी घोषणा आज हुई है तो वो अलग कैसे है, क्योंकि ऑलरेडी सीपीएसईज के जो लैंड बैंक हैं उसको आइडेंटिफाई करके उस कंपनी को ट्रांसफ़र किया जा चुका है। तो ये जो आज का अनाउंसमेंट है उससे अलग कैसे है?
इसमें देखिए दो तरीके होते हैं। एक तो ट्रेडिशनल तरीका है कि ज़मीन की खरीद बिक्री की जाए, लेकिन अब हम उससे बहुत आगे पहुंच चुके हैं और हमारे पास अब सिक्योरिटाइज्ड इंस्ट्रूमेंट्स क्रिएट हो गए हैं, उनका माध्यम से क्रिएट हो गए हैं। तो उसी की घोषणा वित्त मंत्री महोदया द्वारा की गई है कि हम जो रीट इंस्ट्रूमेंट हैं उसको भी सीपीएससीज के जो लैंड है, एक्सेस लैंड है, उसको मोनेटाइज करने के लिए यूज़ करेंगे। इसका सीधा मतलब होता है कि हम एक इम्प्लीमेंटिंग एजेंसी, एक ट्रस्ट फ्रेमवर्क, एक सिक्योरिटाइज्ड इंस्ट्रूमेंट बनाएंगे जिसके तहत उसे डेवलप किया जा सकता है और उसके बाद जो उसके फ्यूचर रेंटल रेवेन्यूज़ हैं उसको सिक्योरिटाइज करके और उसको उसी के डेवलपमेंट में लगाया जा सकता है। अर्थात हमें बजट से कोई खर्च नहीं करना पड़ेगा, सीपीएससी को कोई खर्च नहीं करना पड़ेगा, लेकिन एक कैपिटलाइज्ड मार्केट इंस्ट्रूमेंट के तहत हम उसका रीडेवलपमेंट कर पाएंगे और उसको अर्थव्यवस्था या इकोनॉमी के लिए प्रोडक्टिव यूज में लगा पाएंगे।
This 80,000 crore rupees disinvestment target is sort of standalone target that will come through disinvestment, or it will also include other proceeds like monetization and dividend proceeds?
There is and there should not be standalone targets, because standalone targets create a price overhang and distort the markets. We only give composite markets targets, but in that target, all the 5-6 elements of asset monetization, which includes the traditional disinvestment and land monetization and the new innovative instruments. And you would be happy to know that in December, we got approvals for the first public InvIT in the country. And before the end of the current financial year, we hope to take it to the markets, and we want to see ordinary Indians participating in this new experiment.
Absolutely. So I also wanted to ask you about, market absorption and pricing discipline. How are you maintaining that for upcoming issues, given the fact that there's been a fair bit of volatility?
Correct. So, as I said, we always keep 3 to 4 options alive. And we also time the markets. So, for example, the markets became Trumpian 2 quarters ago. So, we held back. The markets revived, we became active again. And that's how we operate, which is why when you ask me about specific transactions, I would refrain from doing so. But when we come out with a transaction, we make it available to all of you and to all your viewers so that they can partake in the wealth creation.